time. It's time.
Your stepping down kind of caught them by surprise. So, yeah, can you kind of tell us what went into your decision to step away from coaching right now?
These early offers are what they call contingency offers, meaning the offer is contingent on certain things happening down the road, like a corner growing 1.5 inches.
Let's not undersell this thing. A lot of coaches use this as a recruitment tool. I mean, I've lost several players because of 7 on 7 things. And that's fine. You know, kids choose where they want to go, but at the same time, that was an intent of doing 7 on 7.
That will be the last time you see the great Season 6 intro. Welcome to Football Focus Weekly, the season finale, sponsored by Victory Chevrolet, who has been a great sponsor for us. Remember, just $19 down delivers any new or pre-owned vehicle in stock. Make sure you visit victorychevycharlotte.com today and check out what they've got in their inventory. All right. I'm the pet man, Matt Morrow, and this being the season finale, there'll be some things that I talk about toward the end of the show that, you know, I kind of want to thank some people for their support throughout the season. You guys have been great as an audience group, week in and week out. I think this is the biggest year in terms of consistent viewership. Analytics are not something that I look at heavily. I tell people all the time, they come to me with different, you know, things and ideas, and we want to do different things based on numbers. I don't look at that a lot, but this has been the best year as far as viewership. You guys that watch on the regular, remember we were briefly nationally syndicated show. We did a radio show for about 3 months, and then I made a decision to not continue on with it because the other side did not do some things that they were supposed to do to follow through on that kind of business deal. So anyway, toward the end of the show, I'll thank some people for their support throughout the season. But that being said, we do have some really, really important things to talk about. Usually the season finale for us is kind of loose. It's kind of, kind of chill because we had the bowl game, and typically we don't play championship games the same week as the bowl game. But this year being a little different in the setup because of the hurricane, we've got championship games the same week as the bowl game. So we do have to be focused and serious on our last show. Right now it's just me. The guys will join at some point, I presume. But that being said, there are a couple comments in the bucket we'll throw up here. Chat administrator is here. He said, "Is there anything to talk about tonight?" And this is a sarcastic response to the realignment plan, which dropped earlier today. And that's definitely something we're going to talk about. And I think I'm going to lead with that. Karen Belk, good to see you as always. So I'm going to share my screen, and let me make this full screen, and then I'll share this so we can take a look at this together. I'm not going brain dead. Don't forget how to share a screen. Okay, I want to get it the right size. Okay, back a little bit. Okay, all right. So we're going to look at this realignment plan, which if you haven't seen this yet and watching the show, I'd be surprised. But what this is the first draft of conference realignment. I got to make that a lot bigger for you guys. Good gracious. Okay. I get there we go. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay. So conference realignment is a big deal because obviously the teams in your conference are the ones that you're going to play no matter what, year in and year out. Realignment's done every 4 years. Within 2 years, teams can appeal to move up or move down based on changes in their school population. If you haven't heard, the state is moving to 8 classes for realignment. Right now we have 4. So we're doubling what the realignment usually is. And if you just kind of think about it, we had this before. This was the old 4A, 4AA system. We're essentially going right back to it. They're just calling it something different. And, a lot of people up in arms, about that. But as a reminder, the state had 6 classes on the docket, and the problem was enough schools didn't vote. There are several schools that just didn't vote, and if you don't vote, it's considered as a no vote. So the 6 class thing never got passed. So then Board of Education worked with NCHSAA, said, hey, we're going to do this 8 class thing, so that's why we got it. All right, that being said, we're in Charlotte, so we're going to focus on the Charlotte schools. These are Raleigh schools up on the screen right now. The biggest takeaway that was a surprise is right here. These 2 conferences, 7A, 8A, CMS conferences, 2 combo 7A, 8A conferences. And when you look at the breakdown, the biggest thing that I heard from people today was Garinger being in 8A. People were surprised and they were crying the blues about Garinger, but that's not my biggest thing, because I'm just shocked that we had 2 all CMS conferences, and we're going to get to the third one here in a second. But the third one is kind of like an old combo CMS / Cabarrus County conference, which has happened in the past because Harding was a part of that. Matter of fact, when I played at Harding, we were the first school to kind of split off in the late 90s to go play in Cabarrus County because we dropped 3A. So that kind of started that, idea of some CMS schools going to play in Cabarrus County. But I'll get to that in a second. With these conferences, it's very interesting on how, they kind of broke them up, because just looking at it from a geographic standpoint, I don't know if it makes the most sense, especially when you're looking at, Palisades in a conference with a lot of kind of Eastern schools. It was kind of a bit of a talk today at the Queen City Senior Bowl practice. That was a little weird for them to kind of shift that way. And then in the other conference, it's interesting that it's kind of a hybrid between the old. It's a lot like the current Queen City, but you're adding in Myers Park and Garinger to it. So I guess the thought was to try to kind of keep that conference the way it was. And then in the other side, you got, East Mac, Providence, Butler, Independence, Rocky River, all sticking together from the Southwest. So I think they tried to keep the concept of current conferences as much as they could, but they thought 2 combo leagues was the best way to go. My thought was, initially when looking at the numbers, a 7A, 6A conference in CMS, they could have 3 conferences across the board. But I thought, they would take the lower 7A teams like Rocky River and West Mech and put them in a 7A, 6A conference with the other 4 6A schools, which I'll scroll up so you know what I'm talking about here. Slide over. So now you see 6A, 7A Conference F, Berry, Harding, Olympic are 6A. So I thought they could combine with those lower tier 7A schools to make a 6A, 7A third CMS only league, and then we'd be set to go. But I would, we're not in the conference realignment meetings, so I would love to know the rationale of splitting CMS to go with Cabarrus County here. Like I said, it's happened before, so it's not unprecedented, but it's surprising. It is definitely surprising. When you look at this 6A, 7A conference from a football standpoint, because we're a football show, I think Olympic loves this setup. I think A.L. Brown, likes the setup from a competitive standpoint. Now, when you're talking about gate money, you're going to have some matchups that you don't really see that often. And I think, Olympic Harding, Barry Harding will make some money because they're obviously Charlotte, opponents. And then the Cabarrus schools playing each other will make some money. But, you start thinking about, some of these matchups against, some of these Charlotte Cabarrus matchups, it's not going to be big crowds. I mean, we'll just, be honest about it. Let's see. You guys got some comments here. Oh, it's all chat administrator. So I'll let him go. First, he says, I think the biggest issue I've seen people complain about is asking schools to make these conference decisions without knowing the parameters that will make up the playoffs. That's a good point because, and this is what I'm getting ready to say here. If you go, there are some split conferences, and I'll put one on the screen. I think it's a 3A, 4A, 5A split. So I want to show you all this. I think it's on this side. Oh, here's one, 6A, 7A, 8A out on the coast. Now, the whole thing with split conferences is if you're the only one, like West Brunswick right here, a 6A team, they're the only 6A team in that conference. So the way the rules currently read is if you're the only team or if you're the highest ranking, team in a split conference, you'll get in the playoffs as long as you have, I think it's a 500 record. I think they put that stigma on there. But still, West Brunswick, all they got to do is go 500. It doesn't matter what they do in the conference, as long as their overall record is 500, they're going to get in the playoffs because they're the only 6A team in the league. So I know some of this stuff is done primarily to, limit the travel between teams. That's why you have a 3-team split here. But, I think we're going to have to look at what our qualifying rules of split conferences are because we've got so many split conferences here. I mean, look at this. I mean, just right here on the page, they're all splits. Charlotte Catholic going to a all Union County league. That's where they used to be. I think they prefer that, honestly. So that's where they are. They've gone away from CMS. They were with CMS the past few years. I know the league that chat administrator is not too happy with right here, Conference G. I don't think it's that bad of a league, but chat administrator, why don't you like your league, man? Share with everybody there. While you're doing that, Joe says, I need to see how Indiana handles their high school athletic association. Their demographics are much the same as North Carolina's. Okay. Good point. I got guys in the background. I'm sorry. I'm locked in, man. Let me get the guys on here. First, we got Coach Dub, Robert Washington, the head coach at Mountain Island.
What's going on, Pep?
Why are you in the dark, man?
Man, I'm driving. I just had to jump on the show. Me and wifey out. And could you imagine what I'm doing? What do you think I'm doing, Pep? You should already know this. You know your brother. What do you think I'm out here doing right now in these streets?
You know we live on the show, right?
Yeah. No. Nah, not that, Pep. I'm going to get. I'm getting something to eat.
Oh,
I'm eating.
Okay.
I'm in search of food.
Okay. All right. Good. Oh, what's on your mind, man? What you got?
We talking about the realignment, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, for us, and I'm just like, working our way from the bottom up. I think it was a win-win for. I mean, for our
Where
conference,
you guys at?
they moved us back into Gaston County brackets, so
Are y'all
we're,
3A?
we're 2A.
2A. Okay.
Yeah, we're 2A. But we moved back into because we started off, we were in conferences with Bessemer City, Cherville, Highland Tech, schools like that initially, and then when the last realignment happened, we end up going to a weird football only conference where we had to try.
Yeah.
We played 3 teams in Winston Salem, and that was tough. For
Right.
travel and especially with what the objective of the first realignment was to cut back on travel and stuff like that, and we had to do the travel because not just only the varsity teams but also some of the JV teams. So we was at least going to Winston-Salem at least 3 to 4 times a year. So I'm happy.
Yeah. I mean, looking at your setup, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, non-conference. If you look at it, and I told him, I said we got to beef up that non-conference schedule, but that just come down to teams wanting to play us. You know what I'm saying? And so, the ideal is to get a real competitive non-conference schedule and play a tough conference schedule. Because on paper, people might assume, but some of those teams are on their way up.
Who is Piedmont Community? Is that a new school?
Yeah, they don't have football, but they've been around for a while.
Okay.
They're tough at other sports.
Okay. So you only got what, 4 conference games?
Yeah, 4 conference games. We got to go and get 6 non-conference.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's been a problem, is that trying to get a competitive non-conference schedule, because some of the teams that we just got added to, like your Bessemer Cities and stuff, for whatever reason they wouldn't play us. And we were trying to make those games happen, but being back down in a Gaston County conference and being able to play teams that is within your county is ideal for us.
Yeah.
And maybe we could backfill our schedule with some teams that we just left conference, which like, your CTKs, your CSDs, Pine Lakes and stuff like that. So I'm kind of excited just to be able to start back building natural rivalries. Like we had something going with Bessemer City. We'd love to get something going with East Gaston, even though they're not in that conference. But when you're playing a Bessemer City and it's in the same county and some of these kids have played together, it builds natural rivalries. And I think what this realignment is going to do is going to help build back, rivalries. Because I know Joe talked a little bit about that potential Shelby and Lincolnton. That could be an epic rivalry for the next 4 years.
Yeah. 2 football towns, passionate. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're gonna come out and play hard. So I like what the state did here. Obviously, you're never gonna please football fans, especially football fans in North Carolina, because I think North Carolina football is better than what people give it credit to be. We got some towns that really eat, breathe, sleep football. So it's forcing some of these teams to get out of their comfort zone and playing some teams that they might not traditionally have played, but also renewing some rivalries. Like the one I seen that stood out was Grimsley and was it Grimsley and Dudley in the same conference?
Oh, I didn't even got to Greensboro yet.
Yeah, when you get to Greensboro, I think it's Grimsley and Dudley. I thought I saw that right.
7A?
I think 6A, 7A, something like that.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. Conference D. Yeah, Grimsley, Dudley. Yeah, that's good.
And
that's great.
That was a game that was on our Duck and Smoke segment.
It was. That's what I'm getting ready to say. Yeah.
So Pep, you might have made something happen, made something shake.
Now that was your segment. I ain't do nothing.
Well, you provided the platform, and what I think that does, that forces teams not to dodge each other. And I'm not saying neither one of them did, but who doesn't want to see Dudley and Grimsley in a conference game?
Absolutely.
You schedule that conference game, last game of the season, make it worth something.
And Page is getting better too. They made the playoffs.
Yeah, Page is on their way up.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to start seeing again some renewed rivalries, some never before rivalries, and some stuff that that might surprise you. But I think the first initial proposal is it looks good. And I mean I had coaches text me, "Hey, coach, what you think about this?" So it's behind the scenes. It's coaches that's looking at this and like, man, this don't look good for us. But the beautiful thing about it is a state, now that we got 8 classifications, when have we ever seen 3 classifications in one conference?
Never. That's what we were talking about before you came on.
Yeah.
I just don't know. We have to look at the rules for, playoff qualification with split conferences now. Because if you're going to have 3 and then there's only one team in a classification in a split conference 3-way, I mean, that's not really right. They're going to have an easy way to the playoffs.
Well, what you do is what they already got in place, where that team has to finish over 500 or put some kind of criteria in there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But I mean, if they go off and schedule a week 9 conference and then, go 5-0 and then lose all the conference games.
Yeah, and you know what, Pep? And I'm not going to call no teams out because that's not the point. But I was calling out some teams that was doing it behind the scenes. One coach in particular, he was pissed at me. But I'm like, why are you cherry picking like that just so you can finish 500 in that conference and not schedule teams that could give your boys more, competition?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And I get it. Some coaches are going to schedule some teams that they feel that they can beat. And what that leads to is when you end up not beating that team, you see all these harsh feelings. But the reality is you want to try to get as much competition or more of a gate. You know what I'm saying? You want to bring your fans. You want to bring an exciting game to your fans, because who really wants to be a part of a game where you beat somebody 50-7 or something like that? You want to be in them close games, those 21-14s, 20-21, last second field goals. Those are what football is really made of, not, cherry picking and front running.
Right. Well, man, I appreciate you taking some time out while you getting wings. So don't let your wings get cold, man.
Well, you know what? I got some gumbo.
Oh.
I got some gumbo. I switched it up, but I did get some chicken strip. So I'm keeping chicken alive, brother.
Well, tell your wife I said hello.
She right here. She can hear you.
Oh.
Man.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm wonderful driving.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Exclusive.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get that kind of treatment.
Now you just get leftovers. What would you say? All I'm eating tonight is steak.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, Coach Dub, and I'll talk with you soon.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, man. Oh man, that was a little behind the scenes chatter there. Is producer here? I see he's in, but I don't see his camera. Anyway, all right. Let's go back to the comments here. Jamarcus Hunter, what's up, man? He says, "Where's Cabarrus County?" Okay, well, we were just talking about Cabarrus County before you came on, so we'll slide back there because that's gonna fit right into what I want to talk about next. So let's get back. Oh, here we go. Here's one of them, and then we'll get to the other one here. So this 6A, 7A conference was where we were earlier. And then Chat Administrator says he thinks it would have been better to keep the Greater Metro 4 together. Well, ironically, the Greater Metro 4 it's split up, and half of it is in this conference right here, where you got A.L. Brown, Cox Mill, Hickory Ridge, and West Cabarrus joining these Charlotte schools and Central Cabarrus together right there. And then in the other Cabarrus County League, which is, I believe it's a 5A conference. So let's go up a little bit. Let's see here. Well, here's Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant's in a 4A, 5A combo with these guys right here. Forest Hills, Monroe, Parkwood, Anson. And that really kind of beefs that conference up because Forest Hills and Monroe, we know they're very good teams. And then Mount Pleasant is a very good team. And then Anson, can have their moments. So I think that league steps up right there. And then the other Cabarrus County League right here is this 4A, 5A combo with Concord, East Rowan, J.M. Robinson, Carson, Northwest Cabarrus, West Rowan. They pick up Lake Norman Charter, Salisbury, and South Rowan. So that's a pretty good football league because you're adding a Lake Norman Charter team that won 9 games this year. Salisbury, we know, is always pretty good. West Rowan is pretty good. And then you're taking it with Northwest Cabarrus and J.M. Robinson. We saw that South Rowan got into the playoffs this year too. So that's a pretty strong league with what's coming into that. And it's kind of a combination of the South Piedmont 3A and part of the oh gosh, I get my conferences mixed up. Anyway, it's a pretty good league. And then Jet Administrator adding in that Robinson, Salisbury. Yeah, that should be a pretty good game. Should be a pretty good game right there. All right, Perry Saunders checking in. He says, if it's okay for teams, regardless of classification, to battle in split conferences, then what's the reason to jump from 4 to 8 classifications? Yeah, I said this earlier. You might have been just coming on, but the state, had a vote for 6 classes, and many schools did not vote in that voting process. And when schools didn't vote, the way North Carolina looks at it, if a school doesn't vote in an official voting process, it's considered a no vote. So they didn't get enough yes votes to go to 6 classes. So the state stepped in and said, we're going to do 8 classes. And this is what we got. But like I said, it's a very similar setup from a championship standpoint to what we had in the 4AA and 4A breakdown from a few years ago. But we do have a lot of different conference alignments. And just as a reminder, this is the first draft. So, the public consumption has been interesting. It's kind of all over the place. Like, Coach Dove was saying he's happy with how they're set up, but, other coaches feel differently. So, they'll go back to the drawing board and we'll see. Let's see here. Solo Steve's checking in, says, feels like an overcorrection. Well, it's definitely a shakeup. It's definitely a shakeup. A number of people tried to take a glance at what, the realignment was going to be. And I'll just say, I think everybody was wrong. There were so many projections out there of teams being in certain places. And the biggest thing I think people did not expect is so many split conferences. I mean, it's like almost every conference is a split conference. And that's why I said we might have to go back and look at what our rules are for split conferences because of this kind of setup. I mean, everything on the screen right now is a split conference. There's one 6A. There's one by itself. But the vast majority of these leagues are all split conferences. And a lot of people were trying to get away from split conferences, because of the playoff rules. It just makes it more convoluted than anything. Let's see. So Coach Dent says Tabor's right where we need to be. Well, where is Mount Tabor? Let's see. Well, they're not in that Greensboro conference. There they go. 5A, 6A. What, Glenn, Atkins, North Davidson, North Forsyth, and Oak Grove. Yeah, I bet you do like that. It's a great league for Mount Tabor. That is a definitely great league for Mount Tabor right there. I think they're the best team from a football standpoint in that league right there. Oak Grove was pretty good though. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people pushing for that vote because everybody knew it was going to be that important. Because if we didn't get the vote, which we didn't, they were going to do something. And this is what they've done. So basically, the state said, okay, well, if you can't vote on what you want, then we're going to give this to you. And then we'll see where we are in 4 years, basically. So that's why this is so important. So Zoom does not like Conference G 6A 7A, which I presume is what we've been talking about. Yeah. So that's been well established. But for me, from a Charlotte standpoint, like I said, I would have gone to a 6A 7A Charlotte CMS league and put these three, Barry, Harding, and Olympic, with the lowest 7A teams in Charlotte and combine those guys. So that would have been let me get back to it. I gotta find my stuff. There we go. So the lowest 7A teams in Charlotte were Rocky River, West Meck, and I think Hopewell. I thought those three would combine with Harding, Olympic, and Barry and create a split 6A 7A league. And then we would have had three CMS only leagues to keep CMS together. But you know, hey, I think some of it is trying to protect some of those lower 6A teams from going up against 7A teams, but I think some of those teams would have preferred that kind of split versus being in a 7A, 8A conference with, you know, some heavyweights there. But anyway, what's up, man? We were just talking about Dudley because Dudley's in the league with Grimsley, so you guys get to play. What do you think about that? Year in and year out. That'd be pretty cool. David Simmons saying Newton Conover moving to 4A. Let's see where Newton Conover is. Let me get up to our 4A. So Newton Conover, where are we? Well, there's a 3A, 4A with these guys right here. It's a league we were talking about earlier. With Coach Dub. You take a look at that league. You still got Burns, Shelby, Lincoln's pretty good. Lincoln Charter, newer program. It's led by Mike Bias, former East Lincoln coach. So they're a team to watch. West Lincoln's always tough, so it's not a bad league right there. Where's Newton Conover at? Which conference are y'all in, man? I don't see it yet. Still looking. Oh, there we go. 4A, 5A Conference E. Okay. Well, that puts a lot of that's a money-making conference right there because those teams are all in that same, you know, kind of foothills area. Some good rivalries in there. I think that's a pretty good league. Not a bad setup right there for Newton Conover. Okay. So our Dudley guy says it would be nice to play Grimsley, but well, you know, you guys are Dudley though. You always have more talent coming, man. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right, man. And Solo Steve's talking about Garinger. Yeah, I kind of mentioned Garinger in the beginning briefly, but I'll go back. You know, with there's alignment, where are they at? I think they're right here. Yeah. With the alignment of conferences, you know, we saw some, you know, 3-tier, you know, 6A, 7A, 8A leagues out there. maybe they would fit better. So to be honest with you, the way I would help them out, that 6A, 7A league I just proposed with Harding, Berry, and Olympic, with Rocky River, Westmeck, and Hopewell, those low numbers, you can stick Garinger in there, have a 3-tier league, had to be the only 8A team. And at least from the school population standpoint, that would, balance it out a little bit. But I mean, that's, you only do so much, at least from a conference realignment standpoint. And then at the same time, these teams are going to get better. And, the way we see them right now, they may not look the same in 2 years. So, I mean, we've seen that a lot. We had 2017 Harding pop up and be strong. And then, a couple years later, they were kind of back down lower. So, there's only so much you can do, but I think that would be one way you could help them out a little bit. But like I said, this is the only draft. That's my main thing from a CMS standpoint. If the Cabarrus County schools wanted to stay together too, there could be a way to kind of, make that happen. But like, in Coach Dub's case, he's only got 4 conference games because he's in a league with only 5 football conference playing members, football team having conference members. So, that's still a long way to go, because I think they're going to go back and they're going to get the feedback from the schools and, take all that in consideration, and they're going to work on, seeing what else they could do here. That being said, all right. Let's move on to the next topic, because I think we could talk about this all night. I think we covered it pretty good starting out here. And obviously, the next thing, here's the producer.
Stupid technology, man. We're good now, man. We're good. I'm glad I grew up with computers, so I knew how to troubleshoot, man. But I'm here, man.
That's good to see you, man.
I saw Rob joyriding around in the in the Maserati just now.
Yeah, and I saw him getting driven around. Isn't that nice?
Mm-hmm. That's how the other side does.
Mm-hmm. I ain't on that side.
I won't comment. But anyway,
what do you think about the realignment? Do I need to put it back on the screen for you?
No, I couldn't get my camera working, but I heard a lot of that. With just like most big decisions, there are going to be some pros and cons. Pro, we get a lot of rivalries back. Mm-hmm. Berry and Harding, Grimsley and Dudley, kind of things that have been dormant for various amounts of time. We get that back. The biggest kind of perplexing thing I noticed, that's a little odd to me, is conferences with three classes in it. That's kind of odd to me. Like, I thought the whole point of the realignment was to separate, but then you're packing things together. 1A, 2A, 3A, all in 1, 6, 7, 8. Like Rob said, you're never gonna make everyone happy. It's impossible. But it seems like there's 2 things going on at once. You're trying to balance things, but then you're packing together, and it seems like almost all the conferences are split, right? So
yeah, it's crazy.
It seems like we've basically, in a way, you're kind of reverting back to we had the, large 4A, big 4A type of thing. So I just wonder, is it really different? I kind of, for one, thought that maybe we should have explored, or maybe they did, but maybe just doing 6 conferences or something like that, 6A. But just like with anything, it's not permanent. We'll rock with this for a little while, and if it doesn't work, we'll do something different. It's this plan is supposed to be in place for 5 years?
4 years.
4. Okay, so It's not like it's etched in stone. It's going to be like this forever. So if it doesn't work out, or if there's some issues, but I get people's concern. It's like, really, do you want to do something that doesn't work for 4 years? But
well, they had a chance to vote, like we said. Didn't vote.
The three classes in one conference thing is a little odd to me. And I even saw, I think when you put the chart, I saw some classes with some conferences with like 9 teams in it. So
these CMS, let me put it back on the screen. It's these
So-
two main CMS leagues have 9 teams.
So those schools really can only really get what?
Two
Maybe.
non-conference games.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
At most.
Yep.
So yeah, that's interesting, man. But I try to remember there's people out there that know more than me. So hopefully they have a reason. But some transparency would be great. Just in a formal statement, like, look, this is how we put this together. This is the logic. This is the reasoning behind it. I think that would go a long way. Like
Maybe maybe they'll give it to us. I don't know.
That would be
At
cool.
the end, maybe so.
But like you said, the vote was out there.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing to take away from all this.
Yeah,
You
kind of
have
hard.
a chance to vote for what you want. Vote.
Harder to complain when you don't vote.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying you can't, but it's a lot harder.
Yeah, for sure. And yes, David Simmons, this will be for the 2025 season. So, yeah, it's coming season.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. So we got 8 classifications.
Mm-hmm.
The conferences are split like this, but these teams. So you got these 7A. Like, look at the one on the left, Conference C.
Yeah.
West Mech. So when it's time for playoffs, West Mech's going in their own bracket. Mallet Creek, they're going in there in a separate bracket, even though they're in the same conference.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
We're gonna have 8 champions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, that's what it is. Interesting times.
Very.
Well, let's talk about something that's happening right now. And that's the state championship games this weekend. So starting out, we got the 4A matchup, which is Grimsley against Rolesville. This is a rematch from earlier this season. These two actually played. You remember we were trying to go to Mallet Creek and the storm happened and everybody got rained out and lightning all over the place.
Mhm.
Well, Grimsley and Rolesville actually played that night. And I came home and I was watching that game on the stream. So I got a good look at, how both of these teams match up. And just, to remind everybody, Grimsley won that game 35-20, but that game was not that close, to be honest with you. It was 35-13, and then Rolesville scored late in the fourth quarter for that final margin. The biggest thing I took away from that game was Grimsley controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. So when you go into this championship game, the key for Rolesville is they're going to have to find a way to do better on the line of scrimmage. And it's really more so, in my opinion, it was more so the offensive line because the quarterback, Braden Atkins, was just on the run when he was trying to throw the ball downfield. Rolesville hit a couple big plays on him, but it was off of scramble stuff. It wasn't out of the just kind of base, offensive formations. And I'm pulling up the previous matchup, and I'll put it on the screen here because I want to see see if they got some stats. They might have taken them down now. Oh no, they got some stats. So you take a look at the stats there. Faison Brandy's only 6-12, but 235 yards. That's some big passing plays. And then in what Grimsley has been doing, they've been controlling things with the running game. And you see Mitchell Summers had 30 carries for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not a big average carrying the ball, but ball control offense. They kept the chains moving. And I remember he popped a couple of big runs, in that game to make a difference. And then what I was talking about, Rolesville quarterback, Braden Atkins, only 13-29. 228. He had a couple big throws, like I said, off of scrambles and stuff. They averaged 5 yards a carry. They got down. They couldn't keep running it, but you see Amir Brown had a big game, 13 carries for 97 yards. The biggest part of that, Devon Thomas did not get going. And then, like I said, it's because the Grimsley defensive line did a really great job of controlling the line of scrimmage. So that's going to be a key for Rolesville, getting the run game going. So Grimsley can't pin their ears back, led by Bryce Davis on the defensive line, and have a big pass rushing game and just wreak havoc. Hudson Cooper for Grimsley had a huge game at receiver, 4 catches for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wow. So Roseville's really going to have to get that under control. But Caden Cateau, number 1, has been the hot one. He had 3 touchdowns against Weddington in that big semifinal win last week.
Can go back to the passing real quick.
Yeah.
6 completions for 235 as well.
Yeah. They're big plays, man. Big
That's
plays.
wild, man.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, when you're running the ball 30 times, you're trying to, focus on stopping the run and bringing more people up. And, that opens up one-on-one on the back end. And, Faison, he didn't throw it that much. He made it count. And, but like I said, the biggest thing in this rematch, lines of scrimmage. If Roseville's going to be in the game and have a chance to win, their offensive line is going to have to play a lot better, and the defensive line is going to have to really focus on containing Mitchell Summers and not letting him get those big runs that happen from time to time. Producer's camera went out, so I'm gonna let him fix that. He said he was having issues earlier. All right, so in the comments, Bill Array, he says, any games on regular TV Saturday? That's a good question. I do not know. I don't think Bayhackle's doing it because they've got a bowl game they're doing. So I don't know. We'll have to find out. If I find it, I'll put it out on my social media so everybody can take a look at it. But I am not sure. I have not seen anything. So David Simmons says, we'll get to that in a second. Joe says this was the game after Faison found out he had NIL money. Hey man, we're in a new era. Anything that might be able to motivate somebody, hey, it's fair game. Fair game, man. All right, so that's Grimsley Roseville right there. That'll be a fun one. I believe that one. I think that one's Friday night. Yeah, let me pull up that schedule just to confirm, so I tell everybody the right thing here. Yes, this is Friday night, 7 p.m. at UNC Chapel Hill Kenan Stadium. So both of those teams will have a nice Roseville especially will have a short ride over to their championship game. All right, so producer's back. Here we go.
I'm back. All good now. Now, when did you say this game time it was?
Friday night at 7.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, that's interesting. Which stadium is that one in?
North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Okay, so Roseville a lot closer.
Oh, it's just right down the street from Roseville.
Yeah.
For Grimsley, they have to go what was it, Greensboro to
Hour?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's not bad. All right. So where's our guy? David Simmons says, do you think West Charlotte can win state? Well, let's go and take a look at it. West Charlotte, 12-2 on the season, taking on 71st out of Fayetteville. They are 15-0 on the season. The unique thing for me about this is I was able to go down to basically a kind of a Fayetteville area media day, and I got to interview several of those 71st players. And first of all, this is a big team. These guys are a big team. And I mean, not only on the line, but we're talking about the skill guys too. I mean, these guys have been putting in the work. They've played together for a while. The 71st lost to Hickory last year in the 3A final. If you guys remember that was a pretty good game. That was a pretty good game, but Hickory was able to pull that out. So for West Charlotte, coming into this, they are playing really well. We were watching, and you were there last week, producer.
Absolutely.
West Charlotte played probably their worst half in a long time in that first half. and they were only down 8 points. And that second half, they completely, flipped the script and ran away, from Hickory. So, first of all, let me get your thoughts. What do you think about West Charlotte's chances here?
To answer his question, can they win? Absolutely. That team I saw showed their resiliency. Basically shut Hickory out in the second half until the last 2-3 minutes of the game. So to go into the half down and then just basically came out swinging and pretty much dominated that second half shows a lot. Shows how, Coach Griner and the staff are good at making adjustments. Like you said, they did not play a great first half, but came out, made some adjustments, kept their composure, didn't fold, and came out swinging. So they definitely can. Have not seen 71st in person. I hear awesome things. To reach the state title game 2 years in a row says something. 15,
oh yeah,
they're 15-0 for a reason. So
absolutely,
I don't think either team is going to take the other lightly. No one's gonna. That's not gonna happen. I think both will be prepared. Like I pointed out last time we had a show. Coach Griner's been here before. This is not new to him. He has been to this spot and been successful. So he's going to have his guys ready. So both teams are going to come in prepared. Both staffs have been here. So you're going to have a well-coached game. But back to his question, can they win? Absolutely.
Yes. And we're going to get into some good analysis here because I see some comments that are going to be good to address. So first of all, Joe says 71st is enormous. Yeah. I saw them with my own 2 eyes, and I've seen the film on them. They are big. They are strong. But don't get me wrong. They got some guys that can go now too, because we're talking about West Charlotte athletes. 71st got some athletes too. They can run. They can run. Donovan Frederick, who's mentioned by Perry Saunders here, he plays running back and linebacker. Quarterback DeAndre Nance, every bit of 6'3", 185. So this comment coming up, I'm saying the quarterback is out for 71st. Now, I've always said this when we get things like this. No one gets scouting reports in high school football. I mean, not scouting reports. Oh my God, injury reports. So I saw some comments about he might have got banged up during their last game, the state semifinal game. But he finished the game. So here's and I know Coach Griner is going to say this to his guys. If he played and he allegedly got hurt and he finished the game last week, we're gonna play him like he's gonna play. The kid is a heck of a player. He's a dual threat quarterback. I'm gonna try to pull up 71st stats on the season so you guys can get a idea of how good these guys are from a stat standpoint. They're more of a run team. They can throw the ball if they need to, but they run the ball first and foremost. So you see DeAndre Nance, 19 touchdowns, no interceptions. When have you seen that from a high school quarterback? No interceptions on the season, 19 touchdowns. It's thrown for 1,536 yards, threw it 153 times. But you get to their rushing numbers, this is what's impressive. First of all, he's rushed for almost 1,500 yards, 26 touchdowns. Donovan Frederick, who we mentioned, over 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns. And then they got another guy in Franklin who I interviewed over the summer. 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. They have 3,000-yard rushers.
Man.
And you see, look at the numbers. Look at the splits here. 117, 116, 116. You don't get any more even than that in a rushing offense.
Right. And
that is impressive.
I'm going to go ahead and point this out. I think it should be obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. Nance is obviously a heck of an athlete, and he's not just an athlete that can play quarterback. If you can throw 19 scores without an interception, you can pass, you can throw the ball. So obviously the team, he's an integral part to the team. and they're obviously at their best with him.
Yeah.
With that being said, even worst case scenario, if he doesn't play, I think we'd be crazy to think they're just out of it and they got zero chance even without him.
Right.
That even without him, there's a lot of other pieces there. There's a lot left. And so I think we'd all be foolish to think, even if it comes out and says, okay, game's about to start, he's not going. We'd be foolish to think that they don't have a chance even without him, as much as he means. So he's obviously an awesome player, but they're not going to count themselves out if he's not there. Absolutely. I mean, look at that. You got, even without him, you still got 2,000-yard backs still back there. So, so no.
Yeah. So then you flip it over to defense, and we're talking about 71st because we're going to get to West Charlotte. Y'all know West Charlotte. Y'all watch this show. Y'all know what West Charlotte got. We got to tell you what 71st has because we don't talk about these guys. So you flip it on the other side, they've got 4 guys with over 100 tackles, total tackles on the season. Jackson, who I interviewed, he's a heck of a player. There's Frederick at the linebacker spot, Batista, and then Gear right here as a junior. Now, John Archer, who's been mentioned here, John Archer is a huge nose tackle who's getting D1 looks. He's only a sophomore, but he's every bit of, I think, 6'4", 300 pounds. He's an anchor. He's an anchor in the middle of that defense.
84 tackles at the nose is impressive.
Yeah. 31 tackles for loss.
That's insane, man. I hope people realize how impressive that is.
Yeah, so, and then you get to the sacks. Not a ton of sacks. You know, down on the eastern side, they run the ball more than they're throwing it around. So not as big numbers from the passing or sack perspective, but they get to the football. They're strong. They got speed. They're not 15-0 by accident. But this point by Joe is really, really good. You look at their schedule and who they've played. Let's go through it. Now, Richmond is good. We know they made the third round of playoffs, so that's a good win, and that was a close game in week 1. But then you go through it: Pine Forest, Hope County, Southview, Grays Creek, Cape Fear, Jack Britt, Purnell Sweat, Lumberton, Douglas Bird, Croatan, Rocky Mount, North Brunswick, J.H. Rose, Jacksonville is pretty good. So that's a good win. And that was the team they beat in the regional final. But to that point, not the same as what West Charlotte's faced. Not the same. All right. So more comments. We'll put those on the screen and let you guys, kind of talk about it. All right. What about KD Cotton? 3 touchdowns, 3 weeks straight. Hey, man.
Awesome performance. Like you said, we're not making light of them. We just know the viewers probably don't. I've never seen 71st play. I only, read about them. So we just bringing light to a school that most people who watch us probably have never seen. So yes, awesome performance. He definitely really showed out, in the playoffs. So
I'm gonna promote what I do here for a second. I wrote about KD on Prep Reds on North Carolina. So, and then West Shaw didn't put the stats in, so we can't highlight them like I wanted to there. But yeah, I mean, he had an amazing performance. Just watching, Brandon was there, and then watching it on the stream for me, he's dynamic. And if you leave him on one-on-one coverage, like what Hickory chose to do, that's what he can do. Like, he's not a D1 player by accident. I mean, he's special, and he can do so many things on the field on both sides of the ball. He's definitely a key player. And, that's someone 71st is going to key on. They're going to know where he is on defense, and they're going to know where he is on offense. And they're going to say, okay, well, he's a big play guy. We got to shut him down, We talked about the size of 71st, but we got to talk about the speed of West Charlotte also. I coached a really good offensive line at Harding, and we were big and we were strong and we could move people around. We were on the front page of Charlotte Observer, by the way. But anyway, a lot of people don't know that.
I remember that.
Yeah. The biggest thing we had a problem with wasn't big teams because we could push people around. It was speed. Speed gave us the biggest problems because we couldn't get to our steps. We couldn't get to our double teams. We couldn't climb, and expect guys to be where they were supposed to be because they were fast. And we were playing Charlotte Catholic for first place over at Harding. And they put together a scheme where they just kept blitzing their linebackers, and they were never where we expected them to be in our zone-based run scheme. And that gave us a lot of problems. So what I expect West Charlotte to do in this game, they know 71st is big. They know they're going to run the football. They're going to devise a scheme where they're going to be moving around. And we already know Coach Griner and those guys like to bring the heat. They're going to use their speed to their advantage, and they're going to try to get to places before those big guys get on them, because they know if the big guys get on them for 4 quarters and wear them down, then they're not playing the West Charlotte football. West Charlotte football is about speed, it's about explosion, it's about big plays, and that's the way they're going to play the game. So I don't expect West Charlotte on defense to just sit back and let 71st just grind on them and pound on them and wear them down. They're going to use their speed to try and break up whatever 71st decides to do offensively. And if I'm 71st, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to run right at these guys because they're fast. So it's going to be a classic matchup of speed versus power. I think it's going to be a really great football game. Let's see here. In the comments, let's see. Joe is saying, very interested to see how expecting pressure, West Charlotte rolls the pocket to keep the passing lanes clear considering 71st size. Yeah. I'm going to be interested to see how they decide to attack 71st. I think it's going to be early. I think they're going to try to get them to run side to side. I think you're going to see some quick screens. I think you're going to see, quarterback run game with Jamori Nichols. I think they're going to try to wear them out laterally, see how well they can run, 71st sideline to sideline before trying some different things. But I don't think they're going to run right at them that often, at least not early. I think they want to kind of test test the different areas of the field and see how well, 71st covers them, what the scheme is, that kind of stuff. I think this is going to be a great tactical matchup because they're just two different kind of teams for sure. Let's see. Dudley Guy says, it's fair to say 71st hasn't been tested through the air much since it's mostly running teams on the East. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think 71st has a good secondary, but to your point, I don't know how good they are based on the teams that they've played. Because if we go back, and I'll go back to it, you go back to their schedule. I mean, Richmond will throw the ball around a little bit. And Richmond had some success on them in a close game, but that was week 1. That was a long time ago. Well, you go through the rest of these teams. These teams are running teams. Like Jacksonville's a heavy run team. The team they just played. J.H. Rose has been they were more of a run team when they're on their run as a 30 seed through the playoffs. And then the rest of these teams are run teams. Like, maybe Jack Britt will throw it around a little bit, but they're not on a high level passing offense like West Charlotte is. So, that's a good point. Maybe West Charlotte will come out and they're gonna throw it and test 71st secondary. So. Yeah, I agree, Joe. I agree. By far, this is the most intriguing matchup. This is the most intriguing matchup because when we're getting ready to talk about Monroe and Northeastern, I think Monroe is a big favorite here. As a matter of fact, let me go to that. Let me go to that right now. So Monroe has been on fire in the playoffs. They absolutely blasted Brevard last week. It was 28-0 in the second quarter in the regional final, and you just don't see that often. They are really, really playing well. And quarterback Kagan Chambers is a big reason why. He has been just dynamite. He rushed for over 250 yards in the first half last week. And he threw for, I believe it was like 179 for the game. He's just playing out of his mind. And then Jordan Young at receiver and safety is a Joe, I just saw your comment. What in the world? That he is referring to another podcast who I guess did a preview of this game and is predicting Monroe to lose big to Northeastern. Well, us representing the Charlotte contingent here, which includes Monroe, obviously. Let's take a look at Northeastern because, what I saw from Northeastern, they're 15-0. They're a good team. We're not going to, down them or anything like that. Well, let's just take a look. I think they're more of a spread offense. You see that on the quarterback, Jones right here. It's a good player. It's thrown 42 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, 3,745 yards passing. It's good numbers. Those are good numbers, man. He's a heck of a player right there. Running the ball, they have a few different guys that get the ball right there. Looks like Simpson's the leading rusher with 656 yards on the season. And then their receivers, their main guy looks like Saunders, over 1,000 yards and 18 touchdowns on the season. And then Bennett gets in there with 778. So we're talking about a spread offense in the East. And what did we just talk about?
Running team. Most teams out there are running.
Most East teams most East teams are running teams. So they got a guy that can throw the ball out East. That's a huge advantage because the East just doesn't, see the pass that much. And then you flip it over defensively, for Northeastern. They got Bowser is a good player, 128 tackles total. Mallory with 108 tackles. Armstrong 103. So they got some good guys that can make some plays. Sacks, Demps is a good player, 12 sacks on the season. And then interceptions, Bennett with 5. He was one of those leading tacklers, so he's a good player right there. But here's the point. Here's the point. Monroe facing a passing team in the state final. That is probably music to their ears. I mean, let's be real about it. Shelby is a passing team. They got a good guy that can run in Tate. But Shelby is a passing team. We saw what Monroe did to Shelby. And then Joe's point right here says Northeastern is good, but they lose by 10 to Shelby. Monroe beat Shelby by, 3 touchdowns?
Mm-hmm.
So if Northeastern was a big, heavy run team, I would give them a better chance here because Monroe is not huge up front. Their linebacker, Joey Sheeran, really, really good. Tackling machine in the middle. But their D-line is not a huge D-line. And they rotate, some of their O-linemen in. But Northeastern being a passing team, Monroe has seen that. They've seen what Northeastern is going to bring to them. It's not going to be a shock, is what I'm saying. The shock is going to be what Northeastern is going to see from Monroe because they haven't seen this speed out east. Period. You look at Northeastern's schedule on the season. I mean, Birdie, J.H. Rose scored 40 on them. Rocky Mount, First Flight. I don't think First Flight's got the speed Monroe has. Holmes, Hertford County, Camden County, Manio, Currituck County, a lot of counties. Pasquotank County, Green Central, West Craven, James Keenan, and Whiteville. Out of that group, who's got the speed Monroe? I mean, a lot of teams don't, but out of that group right there, there's no one that can simulate what Monroe's going to be bringing to him between Chambers, Young, and all the other guys. Nymir Kendall, Zion, Bus Lindsey, and then the guy we took in the Queen City Senior Bowl, Quay Knotts at DB, he'll probably match up against one of their best receivers. So that's why, I like Monroe. And yeah, Jonathan, I was going to say James Keenan is probably the only team that, could, kind of simulate what Northeastern's seen. And they had some success, offensively scoring 28, but we're still talking about it's a different situation. It's just different. And then to Joe's point, yeah. So when you get these kind of situations and you get to the championship game and you see something you hadn't seen all season, how are you going to handle it? How are you going to adjust to it? Now, Northeastern may have a good game plan. I mean, I don't doubt their coach is really smart and, they got some guys that can make some plays. And then, Monroe, as long as Monroe doesn't shoot themselves in the foot with turnovers, because that could happen. You can have turnovers. If they execute the game plan like they normally do, I think they're the favorite. Now, all respect to the other guys on the other side of the state, but they hadn't seen Monroe either. So, I mean, that's all I got to say about that. All right. Well, I mean, if James Keenan does that, hey, I don't know if their speed's on. I guess it's just on offense because I guess it's not on defense. They gave up 46. I mean, defensively, Monroe. I mean, Jordan Young's not going to Michigan for nothing. So,
Monroe ain't giving up 46.
No.
Nope.
No, they're not giving up 46. Anyway. Let's go to our final matchup in the championships. And that I think someone was asking about. I got to get back to it. You guys, here we go. David Simmons says, do you think Tarboro is the team to beat in 1A? Well, we're going to talk about it. So, and a lot of people don't know about Corvian. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. A lot of people don't know about Corvian. And I understand it's a third-year school and it's a great story. They're the first charter school to ever reach the football state championship game. And then Corvian is taking on Tarboro in this 1A state championship game. And, we're going to tell you about Corvian a little bit. So I went to Corvian in the spring and interviewed their head coach, Chris Emile. A good guy. He's from Ohio. And he's come down here and, he's built this program up with the same guys. I heard a lot of people, or I've seen a lot of people say online that they've recruited this and they recruited that. That's not true. It's just not true. Corvian's 15-0 on the season, and they knocked off Mountain Heritage on the road at Mountain Heritage 28-19 to get to this point. The big win, or the highlight win across the state, was them beating Mount Airy the round before up at Mount Airy to end their 44-game winning streak. And they defeated Eastern Randolph in the second round of the playoffs. The third round. So they've been on the road the last 3 weeks against perennial 1A powers, and they've been able to win the game with, good defense and then timely offensive plays. The quarterback, AJ Jackson Jr. or Andre Jackson Jr., he was a Queen City Senior Bowl selection. Obviously, he's not playing in the game. But he's a dual threat, fast quarterback who can make plays in the run game by design or off-schedule scramble plays when he goes back to throw the football. He can throw the football down the field. So they're going to have to respect his passing ability. But I think Tarboro will really have to pay attention to how they cover him on the scramble game, because that's where he can really make some big plays. Cameron Johnson is one of the main running backs on this team, along with Noah Best. Those guys, kind of lead the way along with Andre Jackson Jr. in the running game. And I'm going to go through their stats here that they've got posted. So you see on the season, Andre Jackson is throwing, he's thrown for almost 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. But they are a running team first. He's got about a 4-to-1 run to pass ratio. So he's got 752 rushing on the season. There's Noah Best with 910. And then Johnson, who's a true workhorse. He's a heck of a player. I've written about him several times on Prep Red Zone, North Carolina. 1,436 yards rushing with 25 touchdowns. He does a lot for this team. There's Best as the leading receiver. Douglas Quarles is a tall threat on the outside, but he plays defensive end as well. He can catch the ball, and then Johnson out of the backfield is dangerous. When you flip it around on defense, they've got several of those same guys standing out. Summers, their leading tackler on the season with 133. Very fast, weak side linebacker, can get to the ball and make tackles in space. There's Johnson. You saw his rushing numbers, and he's got 126 tackles on defense. Just incredible production. And then on the sack exchange, you got Mr. Scott right there with 14 sacks. Adrian Scott is a big-time recruit. And then you've got Douglas Quarles with 5 sacks on the other side. Their 2 defensive ends are big, tall guys that are 6'4", 200-plus pounds. And then they got some big space eaters in the middle right there, so they can slow down the run game, which has been a big key to their run on defense. Now, Tarboro, we know they're a machine. The Tarboro T is known across the state of North Carolina. They can run the football with the best of them. There's total respect on this side for what Tarboro has been. And we'll just go through the stats here just to show you visually. So they've only thrown it 59 times on the season. 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. They don't throw it much, and you're gonna see why. So you look at their running, 1,394 yards right there for McDowell Moore, 856 for Everett, 1,006 for Satterfield. Yeah, so those are their 3 main guys running the football. I presume those are the 3 guys in the T. And then McDowell Moore as a receiver, he's the main guy. So if they do have to throw the football, it's probably going to go to him. Credit seems like he gets.
Can you go back up to those running backs real quick?
Yeah.
So that's 3 with 2,000 yarders and 1 8 something, and that's if my math is right, and usually is. That's 48 touchdowns between those 3.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Absolutely. And then defensively, there's Craddock again, 132 tackles, and Bridges with 112. And then there's a guy, Powell, 21 sacks. Well, we'll have to know where he lines up. And then there's a couple of guys with 3 interceptions on the season. So
who beat them this year? They got a loss.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
The one loss Tarboro had was to Havelock. Havelock is a team in a higher classification. I believe they're 3A. And Havelock threw the ball all over Tarboro. So, once again, this goes back to what we were saying. The East not seeing the pass that often. You see, Jalen Hewitt threw for 522 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then they ran for 112. So, using the pass to open up the run. And then when they got behind, they only threw it for 4 of 11 for 62. Still ran pretty good for 121 right there, but there's 96 for Satterfield. So, but you look at these, look at Kendrick Kelly, 11 for 249, Morgan 6 for 163, Williams had 8 for 98. They really threw the heck out of the football on Tarboro. Now, that being said, Corvian is not like Havelock in the passing game. So I'm not saying they're going to go out there and throw the ball all over the yard because that's not how they are. That's not Corvian's offense. Okay. Like you guys are saying in the comments, you have to say Tarboro is the favorite here. They've been in the situation so many years. They've been in multiple state championship games. They won multiple state championships. But they can't come in here and take Corvian lightly. If they do that, they're going to be in a fight because Corvian has something going this season. These guys have they took their lumps together, 3 years ago, and they've grown into a championship contending football team. So I think Tarboro is going to respect them. I mean, they're in the championship game for a reason. But I mean, you got to favor the team that's been there with the tradition, with the experience, most importantly, of being in these big games and knowing how to pull those games out. And this is a good point by Joe. Seeing Mountain Heritage's offense, it's not like the T, but that same heavy rushing element is going to be there. And same thing with Mount Airy, heavy rushing element. So it's just we'll see. We'll see. I think Corvian's got a shot. Tarboro will have to, not be on their A game, but we'll see.
Tarboro has a lot of recent championships, right?
Yes.
Without so.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So we'll address some comments here before I go to the Queen City Senior Bowl to finish up the show. Let's see here. Tarboro will beat them by 3 scores. Okay. I can respect that. I can respect your point of view. Well, you guys are talking to each other mainly. Trayvon Gaither, what's up, man? He says 3 years ago, Corvian scrimmage CSD, they had a lot to work on. Those kids went to work and have developed over the years. Not 15-0 for no reason. He thinks he can see an upset. And yes, their coaching staff is doing a good job. They are doing a really good job over there. And they really, when I went to see them in spring practice, they did a good job of really teaching the fundamentals. They do a good job of teaching. That was impressive to me. Corvian also has a really good kicker. I think he's on a Division I FCS kind of level. So if they're in range, he can make a field goal. For probably, I'd say he's good from 45 and in. So high school, that's a weapon. So that's
a luxury in high school.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
That's a major plus for those guys. All right, to finish up the show, let me take this off the screen. I want to talk about the Queen City Senior Bowl, which is why I'm not going to be at a championship game. For those of you watching that may not know, the Queen City Senior Bowl is a Charlotte area bowl game for seniors. This year, the game will be at Olympic at 1 p.m. Tickets can be purchased at queencityseniorbowl.com. DJ McFadden is the head coach of the East team, and Greg Lloyd is the coach of the West team. It was going to be Sam Griner, but obviously he can't coach in the game because West Charlotte's got a game to play. We just talked about at 11. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention West Charlotte's playing at 11 a.m. on Saturday.
Get up early if you're heading up there.
Why would we schedule a championship game at 11 a.m. in December?
I don't think that was taken into account, man.
That's just crazy to me. But anyway, So for the bowl game, there's a lot of exciting things. There's new colors schemes for the uniforms this year. The East team is going to be wearing all black, and the West team will be wearing teal jerseys with purple pants. So that reception seemed to go over very well with the general public and the players on both teams. So they're excited to kind of see that. The gates will open at 12 o'clock for the bowl game. And there's going to be some things you want to see in the pregame. There's always the big introduction for the players where the parents line the field, kind of like a senior night, but they do it on both sidelines. It's really cool to see. There's a DJ. There's also all-star cheerleaders. I'm very excited to be a part of this 6th annual Queen City Senior Bowl, man. Are you going to be there? I didn't even ask you.
Nah, I got a family gathering to attend around that time. So unfortunately, I won't be able to make it this year, but good luck to everyone.
Now I'm sad.
Hey, man, it is what it is, man.
Is it streaming? Yes, it'll be on NFL Chess Network. So it is streaming. So you can check it out. You can check it out live, or you can check it out on the replay. It'll be up there to watch. If you can't make it, the one thing I will ask is that you make a donation because the proceeds from the game, or a portion of the proceeds of the game, go to benefit the Metro School, and the Metro School is a school in Charlotte, downtown Charlotte, that teaches kids with different disabilities. So those guys do a great job. There's a lot of stuff out on social media for the Queen City Senior Bowl on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And one of the things that are out there is a video of the Metro School kids excited for the game. They really see this game as the Super Bowl for them because, they're kind of forgotten about, to be honest. And they really appreciate the donation that the Queen City Senior Bowl makes every year to support, their efforts. So you can go to queencityseniorbowl.com, click on the tickets donation tab, and make a donation if you can't attend the game in person. So, David, I cannot talk about that other game because, I'm locked in on the Queen City Senior Bowl. So I'm sorry. But I see your question. I see your question there. All right. This is the final episode of season 6 of Football Focus Weekly. I'll let you have any thoughts you want to have, producer.
It's been a great season, man. Just can't wait to do it again. I always enjoy this. I think what we do here has a purpose. And I think, as we keep going, we keep getting improved. We keep improving, keep learning more about how we can grow and help out the community and the world of high school football. So, we're going to keep going strong. We'll be back next year. Wishing everybody the best in the championship games. Safe travels for everyone, and hope we get some good matchups. So it's been great.
Thank you, man. You're one of the ones that I want to thank for everything that you've done this year to support CFI in general, not even just the show. You guys don't know, me and Brandon are former teammates at Harding High School where we struggled together on the gridiron.
Hilarious.
And because we didn't win on the gridiron, we decided to keep covering high school football.
Hey, there's other ways to win. There's other ways to win in life. Like I say, man, I think like what we do here has a purpose, man, and just bringing light to kids and helping kids grow and develop. Sometimes I have to just stop and even just make sure people realize that the purpose of high school football is not just to get kids into college or get kids into college scholarships to play college football. that's an amazing goal, and that's a perk, and that's awesome. As many kids we can help get to college, we're going to do that. But there's something to say about just boys coming in and leaving as men. That's truly just watching kids grow and everything. So obviously, like you said, we're going to get as many kids into college as we can. Absolutely. We have camps and things along for that, but there's even bigger picture there. So that's why I think what we do is important.
Absolutely. That was well said right there, man. For me to end season 6, I just want to thank you guys for watching us. It sometimes, when you do something for a while, which I've been doing this for a while, you kind of don't think about, the effect that you have on people. And, I want to thank the coaches who, say some kind words and say, keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate it. People tell me, you don't know the effect of what you're doing. And it's true. I don't really see it, but you get to the end of the season. I've said this before. My favorite part of the season is at the end of the Queen City Senior Bowl, which I've done from the start the past 6 years, is when the parents and the kids are on the field with the coaches, and everybody's shaking hands and wishing everybody the best going on in their lives, like kind of like what producer said. For these seniors, that's the last high school football game they're going to play, and it's kind of like a transition of the next phase in life, and that's really a special moment for me. I really like to kind of take that in when that game ends, because it's usually the end of the season, and it will be. The biggest thing that I really want to share with you guys is, CFI has kind of been born out of people wanting to help these young men. And a lot of these guys give their time freely. I mean, the guys that are on the show, they don't get compensated. They do this out of the kindness of their hearts and the kindness of wanting to help kids, which, it's amazing. And every year I say, you don't know when it's going to end. We don't plan on going anywhere. We're going to do this as long as we can. But it's a special thing to have, this many selfless people pour into something that is not, flush with cash and compensation. It's about helping kids. And you guys are a part of that by watching this show and participating in your comments and everything. So if you're coming out to the bowl game, if you see me, please say hello. I may not hear you because I'll be running around doing a lot of stuff during the game, but after the game, if you come out on the field, I'd love to meet you, shake your hand, and say I appreciate your support. And come out and support these kids, man. That's what whether it's at the Queen City Senior Bowl, another bowl game, or the state championship games. I echo what the producer said. Be safe and traveling there. Bundle up because it's gonna be a little cool. We had a beautiful day today, 70 degrees, which I would love that for Saturday, but no, it's going to be 40 something. But once again, thanks for all your support this season. Like I said in the beginning, this season has been the biggest in terms of viewership. It gave us a national broadcasting opportunity, and that's because of you. That's because of what you guys do in supporting us. So, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we'll have a couple off-season shows coming up, probably starting in March. So we'll see you in a couple months, man. Good night.